Greetings and salutations. Just gonna do a little recap. I'm kind of multitasking, so little brief kind of description, I guess, or a greeting. So here I have the Funcom forum post, and I'm also walking the Han River while I do this. I'm using my mobile app, so this is meant to be listened to as a kind of a podcast format. So I apologize for any traffic or crazy Hangul. Somebody might be yelling at me at the time, but just kind of to summarize. So here I do this forum post on general discussion, and I go through basically the topics of lack of system updates or lack of system changes or tweaks that need to fix issues in the game as far as kind of manipulation of because people will cheese the system. That's what I'm trying to say. People will cheese the system. It's not necessarily an exploit, but they'll figure out how to, like the AI. So one of the issues with the AI is if you get, let's say you have 20 thralls out there. Well, if 4 of them are attacking you, the rest of them won't attack you. And so what they'll do is they'll figure out how to kill the other thralls by getting behind a barrier. And so let's say the 4 archers are shooting at you, and they'll just stand behind a wall while they'll kill the other thralls, and they'll kite the other thralls behind that blind spot, and then your archers, they'll ultimately just be shooting into the wall and not break aggro. And so I speak to some of that stuff, and I speak to adding other systems to where it makes it harder to because there's an imbalance in the PvP raid system. It's kind of an exponential it's like a 60-40 split. If you're a raider, you have a 60% advantage, and if you're defending, you're like on the other side of that. So ultimately, no matter what their skill set is or what their knowledge base is, they can ultimately throw enough resources at you to get into 100. I figured it out if you watch some of the other videos. So it takes about 40 minutes to get through 1.5 million hit points worth of building materials, because there aren't any countermeasures. And so, and I go through all of this extensively in previous content. So here, just kind of a summarize, as I have my original post, and then you look down here, and it gives you, what's kind of interesting is it gives you some kind of general. So there's 56 replies, and this post is a month old now. There's 56 replies, 819 views. And as far as the community involvement, that's a pretty big hard hitter, right? And if you notice that there's really, this conversation is taking place between 10 people. Maybe, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people are the majority of the replies, and then the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, right, are one-time post. And so really 5 people are carrying this conversation out of this 56 replies. That obviously speaks to a level of their involvement or their love for the game. And so some of these and some of these comments are like, they're in complete agreement. Like, yeah, it won't happen. I feel you, mate. Let me see. There's no amount of new content that will bring back the game. People have left because of bugs. Let's see what else is. I'm conflicted by this thread. It's a good idea, And then there's, and so the majority of these people are, for the most part, in agreement. I agree with most of what you mentioned. Sometimes they get a little spun off on some of the side details, but once you put close to 1,500 hours, at first, like, people right now are kind of upset about the Annihilator being debuffed. What they don't realize is the Annihilator. Okay, let's say you have 2 thralls. and your thralls are fully geared out in the best armor that you can put, and you got Godbreaker armor, and they're rocking. Before the last patch, the max you could get was like 1,025 or 1,028 armor. I think it's a little higher now. I think it's closer to 1,200 now. So with that Godbreaker, and you're defending your base, and you have 5 thralls out there that are Godbreaker, full armor, somebody can go in there and kill your thralls and take all that Godbreaker armor that it took you, because it took me about 25 runs to put together enough armor scraps to build one Godbreaker armor. So literally within 20 minutes, they can go in there, they can kill all your thralls with that Annihilator and take all that Godbreaker armor. And that, it doesn't matter what weapon they have, because you can use your thrall to draw the fire from the 4 AI archers. And so that's kind of why they did it, because it's an imbalance. What happens is, once you get raided, they take all your stuff, get pissed off, and you quit the game. So it's kind of like, then they lost the population. So that's why ultimately they nerf the armor pin on the Annihilators, because it's one of those things where it can be used to kind of, I don't want to use the word exploit, but definitely cheese the system. It can be used to drive players away. So just kind of one of those insight. Once you guys spend more time in the game, but kind of what they failed to do. This is a Funcom special. Is what they failed to do is they failed to remove the armor pin on the two-handed hammer that drops from the same guy, and they failed to increase the damage by 10% because you have to compensate for the lack of armor pin. So they nerfed the item. They pretty much made them junk, and then they completely skipped over the other one because it didn't have any public attention and there weren't any YouTube videos about it. So, like traditional fashion, they lack of insight. The fact that they don't play the game, it shows pretty significantly in their depth and knowledge of content. I think so many people have worked on the project. They're kind of like jumping in, midstream and trying to make fixes when they don't realize that there are 4 or 5 existing systems that have those same issues, and it's becoming layered at this point. But I've documented all of this pretty extensively. I got my wish list, like 100 videos of crap that needs to be fixed or updated. Some of it's brilliant, some of it's kind of stupid, I'm not gonna lie, but like they need to do a torch rework. That's probably one of my top 5. Make it to where when you carry a torch and you hit somebody, it puts a little burn effect on them, a little burn dot. They need to go through and do the shrines, the deity shrines, like Mitra and Yog. They need to have it to where the tiered system's great, but there's not enough stuff that comes out of there. Tier 1 needs to be, the items you get need to be gathering based. Tier 2 needs to be crafting stuff, like statues and, maybe specialty doors or windows, or, building, crafting stuff that kind of gives a Mitra temple theme. Tier 1 needs to be like your survival. I know I'm kind of recapping or going back, like your survival and crafting stuff, like maybe purified water, maybe a special pickaxe, or you could use the Mitra Ankh as a truncheon. I've talked about all of this extensively, but all of that needs a total rework. Your tier 3 needs to be your PvP stuff. Most of your PvP-related items need to come out of your all your armor sets and your weapons. PvP-related stuff needs to come out of the tier 3, because that's once you identify yourself on the map with that token. So it's kind of one of those sketchy. And so if you want to reap all the benefits, you can just basically, upgrade to tier 2, and you're able to get all your benefits, like your fountains and all your stuff, and not move into that threshold. And unless you intend to fight the fight, because usually after you pop that token and you move it to 3, you're going to fight that fight, and you're not going to win it because of the imbalance of the rating system. You know, the attack versus the defense. There's not enough defense systems that exist to just slow them down long enough to wave the storm of the 6 hours of pure rating time. And I've talked about it, splitting it up into a 10 and 2. You know, basically kind of think, because like each day is approximately 30 minutes in the game world. And so basically, if you figure out that your raids happen on the game weekend, and you have basically a game weekend, your Saturday and Sunday of the game time, that's your raid time. That should come out to be around 2 hours. But yeah, there needs to be more of a cycle, and just to give somebody a pure 6 hours to wreck your shit, regardless of how intelligent they are, or what skill sets they have, or their level of coordination. It's you know, I mean, even if you're amazing at your crafting and building and pits and, you know, fake floors and all the stuff that you can do, the most you're holding them off is an hour. You know, and then you're like, okay, well, that was stupid because I just spent 12 hours building that. And there's some enjoyment that comes with that, but unfortunately, you're stuck in a reverse loop, and that reverse loop is you spend all your time gathering to plug those walls up to get it to where, you know, the thralls that you do have that can be cheesed by the Annihilator don't get killed off. At least they have to spend some resources to get back in and to get to your stuff again, you know, to kind of exploit what they have. So there's just some thoughts, and as always, this is meant to be. Hopefully the background traffic is not too loud. I tried to get away from the road. You know, the population here in Seoul is around 25 million, 7 times larger than New York City. So it's just one of those things where it's like there's always people everywhere. But I'm gonna see how this sounds. If it's not too bad, I'll upload it. Yeah, some comments are always welcome. Thank you for your time.